We are back here at NAL. Jesse Jacob here with you on the desk, getting ready for DarkZero versus Astralis. 2-2-1 teams trying to cement themselves as a top 4 team in the league, and they both have a pretty good shot, don't they?
I think so. I think these are two squads, DarkZero, that you expect to be here pretty consistently in the top 4. Astralis, certainly a newer contender, but they've been off to such a hot start so far in the stage. I've been really impressed with their gameplay so far. They've grown so much since last year, and so I'm really excited to see what they can do.
I'm in the same camp. I've wanted these guys to do really well back since those Disrupt days when they were still figuring stuff out, came into the league, they didn't really know how much of a future they had, didn't have CL experience together as a squad, and now it seems like some things are beginning to click after 3 games, so I hope that continues for their sake and maybe for major potential sake as well.
Yeah, I mean, DarkZero kind of, I would say, trying to kind of maintain their position as a solid team, and Astralis kind of in the opposite place, kind of trying to come up, trying to, prove themselves a little bit. Like you said, they've struggled since, well, not struggled, but you know what I mean. They're playing better than they've played in a while. This is going to be a real test for them. We'll see if they can do it. But you know what? Astralis has, perhaps a trick up their sleeve. They have an individual that you could say is almost like having your own superhero on your team,
I think I know which one you're referring to.
You think so?
I'm pretty sure.
I think we're going to find out in a moment.
Idea.
Yeah, that's right. Let's check that out.
Wait, who's
own?
What?
Up there.
Is it?
On vengeance.
Wow. I just can't tell. Is it Vengeance or Iconic?
That was
That's
the bat
terrifying.
symbol.
My God.
I didn't know what that was, and now I know.
I see it right up there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the camera can't do like a 180 flip and see, but that's a bat symbol.
No, if you could see back there, if you could see behind us right now, there's like a city skyline with an old Gothic skyscraper, and above that in the mist is a signal that has the Astralis logo, actually, yeah.
And Iconic's been saving the city for Astralis. He's been doing so well for them so far. He was our Playday our MVP for the Playday way back in week number 1 to start off the league against the Sonics, and he's kept that trend up. I really think that he's been the star of the show. They've kind of built their squad around him throughout this stage, and it really feels like he's been able to go forward with the squad, be in a lot of those aggressive entry positions, but also not afraid to flex around, play a lot of different operators as well. So I've loved seeing Iconic throughout this stage.
Who is gonna be the Riddler or the Joker to Iconic's Batman, though?
I mean, all I know is that NAL is definitely Gotham right now.
I mean, we don't really identify
madness.
anyone on DZ as like a villainous character, so who do we throw that?
Well, maybe we can find out as we do a little bit of comparing between these two teams. We have some numbers to check out. Let's go ahead and get that on the screen so we can mull over this, and maybe, Jacob, what do you think as you look at this?
Well, I mean, the stats themselves aren't necessarily incredible on paper, other than that conversion rate. Like, how many other people have anywhere close to 100% conversion rate in the league? At this point, it has to be non-existent or like real close.
Yeah, nobody. I think the next highest conversion is like 76. No, there's an 88 on Oxygen.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. So, I mean, at 100% conversion rate, good grief. However, the amount of times they're actually getting the entry is still very dependent on kind of how they work with that 3-man push. The NJR, Panba, Hyper combo so far has been exquisite when they're on attack, and Canadians always there following up.
Yeah, I mean, we even said yesterday the DarkZero at 100% conversion rate, and it seems like they're dedicated to keeping that stat line by losing every opening pick so that their win rate with the opening pick cannot go down. They got just 1 opening pick yesterday against Parabellum. And so they overall have a 25% OK rating. Very poor in that stat line, which is kind of how they're able to keep that 100% alive. Felt like they weren't really able to anticipate a lot of the swings that PB were throwing on the roam, and then they're kind of caught with their pants down time and time again. So although that 100 is nice, I'd like to see it go down, if only because it means that they're winning more opening rounds.
All right, well, Astralis, by comparison, we'll check out their numbers as well. What can you glean from this?
Well,
much higher opening kill, obviously.
Much higher opening kill, and that should get boosted even higher just due to what DarkZero tends to do. Their conversion rate's also very high. 71% is above the average from what you'd expect. And I think that for Astralis, these are numbers that can often get boosted by the man, not that is standing in front or behind those PCs, but standing behind the players behind those PCs. Yesterday, it started to slip away towards the end, but thankfully Callout, despite looking like a middle school math teacher, was able to get them back on track. And I think Callout deserves a lot of credit credit on this Astralis lineup, because the way that he's been able to kind of pull this team in when they're kind of slipping away against SSG the other day, he was a huge factor on getting them back on track. And so if that's something where we see another situation, Astralis starting to dip, that maybe opening pick rate starts to falter against DarkZero, what we could end up happening is another tack timeout, they sort things out, and that maybe swings the match back in their favor.
Yep, I mean, hey, what are coaches for if not getting your mental back in the game, using those tack pauses to regroup everybody, maybe offer a little bit of tactical stuff, but at that point, at that point in the game, the practice is done. Strategically, there's not a whole lot you can change in the middle of a match like that. It really is a kind of like mental component that I feel like in those moments the coaches really can bring or, not bring depending on the team.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing about it has been the way they've also sorted through their ban phases, because they've loved so far to rely on the new maps, the element of surprise. They've not been in a position where they've had to, aside from that one time they lost in week Oregon Playday 2, they've not been stuck in a map that other teams already know them for playing. They've tried things that other teams have not been able to scrim them on yet.
Yeah, well, let's take a closer look at DarkZero as they get ready over in Vegas, and we'll see how they look. We can judge. We're the ones who are able to look at the faces and the players, judge the mental condition. Not those faces. Those faces don't move. That's just a graphic. But when we see the actual players, then we'll be able to do that.
Yeah, if we can even go beyond the players once again, I do want to talk about the coach once more, because Mint is another great mind that stands behind his squad. Although yesterday his tack timeout usage wasn't quite as effective as callouts. He called a tack timeout when DZ were struggling, and then they immediately lost a flawless round. Now I know that DarkZero have one of the strongest support staff behind their players of any team out there, but they have kind of been reducing it recently. First, Grant kind of dropped off that team from an analytical point of view. Then we saw BC falling off the roster of the coaching staff to move back into an organizational role on DarkZero, and so now it's only really Mint that can kind of command this team from the back lines, and they've got strong leaders and strong talkers on this team as well. I'm sure guys like Troy and Eclipse are able to contribute a lot to that, but still, that reduction in the manpower behind the scenes seems to have affected DarkZero, at least in these opening couple of games, that they aren't really winning super decisively.
Yeah, and last week specifically, I'm just looking through my notes again from how that game went, and 90% of it was how Parabellum felt like they were just decimating DarkZero at every turn. When they were facing, especially on the first half, it's Wimpy getting 3Ks to stop pushes, it's 2Ks, it's Kool-Aid clearing statue perfectly, and it feels like sometimes we didn't really have much reason to give DZ credit, even for the rounds that they won. Sometimes it's individual performances, like there was that one NJR 3K top study to get a full clear. There were times where creators couldn't clutch, but there aren't that many things from that one game on Villa that really make you think, hey, DZ's got it together. The Beast Coast game honestly has more reasons to think they'll probably be able to do this long-standing, but not from the one from yesterday, which is honestly weird considering how good this team is when they're all dialed in, because for some reason they just seemed they were off from the get-go yesterday.
It seems like a lot of it too is like, how do you handle Iconic on the other side? Because for a team that plays a little bit slower, that can be a big threat, right? Where you have someone coming in with a lot of kill pressure, like that can throw you off. You lose one person in Siege and the whole plan goes out the window.
Yeah, I mean, Astralis is a team that definitely has those tricks up their sleeves. The most important moment yesterday was that double security flank, where they had impacts coming in from J90 and then Iconic Oryx jumping up the security hatch on border to be able to go for a double flank into security. It was beautifully done, and these are the little jabs that Astralis will throw at you when you're setting up, when you're ready to go for that push. Obviously, it's not something that they're able to pull off all the time because it can get predictable, but if you're not watching for that, those big jabs that can come out of players like J90, like Iconic, can be very devastating for a squad.
Roam strategies for Astralis are their strong suit, especially like on-site play is usually fine, but they're always relying on 1, 2, 3 deaths off-site and then swarming back in, getting their full retreat on to make sure that whoever is attacking doesn't have a foothold to use in the last couple of seconds of the round. And what they were doing against SSG yesterday was honestly pretty textbook. Borders a map that if you can't get into the building, you can't really do anything with that foothold. You can't even establish it in the first place, and that was something Astralis did such a good job at stalling. It felt like a lot of those executes came down to almost no time for SSG to fully get what they were looking for, or they had to stop a top floor clear, reposition people, like not according to plan, and when they finally tried to stop the plant, it was the easiest thing in the world. There was nothing Space Station could do. That kind of super swarming roam clear is something I think DarkZero have to prioritize. The only problem is I do understand DZ's speed could be a bit of an issue if Astralis are that dynamic on defense.
Well, it's kind of interesting that you have Space Station Gaming into DarkZero. Like, honestly, with those two teams, how much do you really have to rework what you're doing if you're Astralis?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, you always want to be able to anticipate, like, what they're going to be doing on any given map, and that can change, but I think the general general mannerism certainly can be similar between DarkZero and Space Station. They can be a little slow when they're trying to set up. They can be a little bit perhaps not quite able to adapt to some of that more aggressive stuff. And we saw that from Space Station the other day. DarkZero, I certainly worry about that, because even if you look at the double matchup for DZ, they played Parabellum yesterday, and it felt like that was a similar story where they just couldn't anticipate a lot of the swings that PB were throwing at them. So this really could be a similar looking match to what we saw on Playday 3, not only for Astralis, but also for DarkZero.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's time to find out in just a moment what the map is going to be that we're going to play on. We haven't seen this yet, obviously. Any quick predictions as we get into it?
I could see something like a
cafe.
Good thing I didn't say cafe. I don't know. I could see something like a villa. I could see a villa. I think both teams are real big fans of that. Let me make sure they haven't banned it yet. No? Okay.
There's not really a map that I think both teams are necessarily good on that like remains in the pool. It would have been coastline based on last season's standings, but that's not something that we can look at here. No Skyscraper. I think DarkZero are going to be kind of resistant to wanting to try out a new map at this stage in the game. They'll want to use the ones that they've been able to refine over the past couple of months since the 6th Invitational. Cafe, Skyscraper, Bank, Villa, no Clubhouse, perfectly sensible. DarkZero pretty average on it. Astralis still have yet to play it since stage 3. It's the one map they've always permabanned, and they will continue to do so. No theme park either. We're getting to a point now where there's not that many maps that I think Astralis would have any sort of advantage on. It still feels like DarkZero are going to win this one, because now it's either Oregon or what are you missing at this point? Border.
They would love a border.
I don't think Astralis now can't force the border because they've banned out Chalet, so it's up to DZ.
Border.
If I'm DarkZero, I don't take you to border. I stick with the Oregon pick here. That seems like the smart thing to do, and that's exactly what they'll stick with.
That's crazy.
Astralis against SSG yesterday were plenty insane, but we understand how systematic DarkZero are in attack. If they couldn't do anything on border, that would have been a really fast game for Astralis. So this seems like the safe pick, Ray.
So I feel like Jacob has his picks all figured out already. Like it seems like you're going to go a certain way. I'm not going to make you do it right now.
Some of it, yeah.
It feels like you've kind of already decided. We'll come back to the analysts in a moment. For now, we want to hear what the casters have to say about their predictions going into this series. We're going to Oregon. Blue, Stokes, opinions, predictions. What do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty interesting one at the end of today here. We got a pretty close matchup, I think, between these two teams, and this is a tough one to call, especially now since we're going to Oregon. This is a map that's been like pretty played out, I think, especially here in North America.
Oh, yeah.
There's not a huge amount of room for teams to throw out any massive surprises or anything like that. But I do think recently we've been seeing a lot of great stuff coming from Astralis, so I feel like it's going to be on a team versus team basis, on a player versus player basis. Astralis is going to basically just edge this one out here, basically due to their individual skill.
All right, Astralis for Blue. Now over to the referee.
I'm listen, it's got to be Astralis for me as well. I mean, if I have to make the official call, I don't have a flag to throw or anything
Where's
like
your whistle?
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly right. But no, I have to go with Astralis. I think they've been on an absolute tear so far this stage, and I don't think it's going to stop here.
All right, there you go. 2 for Astralis. Back over to the desk now. Jacob, I'm going to come back to you first because you seem to say a lot of things that indicated you were going to lean towards DarkZero for this one.
For this one, yes, because I think the battleground doesn't really lend itself towards what Astralis' success has been, which is new places. We're not going to a new place. We're going to a map that DarkZero, when they've played it over the past couple of months at this stage, I'll pull it back up again, it's not one that they've had a winning record on, but it's one they're always very willing to try. They're 2-3 on it in stage 3, and that includes international competition. And if I double check what the side is, I think I know. So Astralis starting defense, but DarkZero is the kind of team with attacker repick that I think should be able to read into that, especially given what we saw from that SSG TSM game. You can pick those attacks or those defenses apart so much cleaner. I think DZ can do it here.
All right, DarkZero for Jacob. Jesse, what do you think?
What you fail to recognize, Jacob, is that although it's not a new map, it may be new to Astralis. This is a map that they haven't won since October 2020, where they beat SSG during the Stage 2 Major Qualifier. A tournament, the Major Qualifier, so old most viewers probably don't even remember what it is because it was all the way back in year 1 of the NAL. SSG did get their revenge on Astralis back in Stage 3, beating them 7-2, so they played this map last year, but they were never able to find any wins on it. With a new coach, with a new lineup coming into this new year, I really think that they can pull out some creative strats, get something going on in Oregon, and get this win.
Counterpoint, No, cut back to that cam, please. Counterpoint, if they've not played it for a certain amount of time, which they haven't if they've not played it since 2020.
They've not won it since 2020.
Correct, but why would Callout allow the ban phase to go this way if they weren't prepared for a map that they've not won in quite some time? That's my only interjection.
Well, lovely. I just am so, my heart is warmed when everyone gets along and, you know.
I love how production isn't even putting your pick up there. They're just like, no, just isn't crazy.
That's right. You picked Astralis, right?
Yeah, I'm going Astralis.
Yeah, okay, all right. We got it, yeah.
That's the whole,
there we go. Just wanted to clarify that. All right, so now it comes down to the coin. Heads will be DarkZero, there's heads. And tails will be Astralis. There you go. We're gonna flip it, not drop it. Oh yeah. Ooh, it's tails. The coin says Astralis. And I say, it's morphin' time.
I'm about to climb up over everybody else.
Good.
Sorry. There you go. Well, the predictions are in, and you have a little bit of decision-making of your own to do at home. That's right. Our poll question popping up on the screen just a moment. R6 Esports NA is where you go to make your voice known. Who'll frag out harder, NJR or Iconic? It's a good question. I mean, I feel like Iconic has been doing pretty well this season so far on that department, but you never know. Got to get into the game and find out.
If you're going to vote, I'll give you a little bit of a heads up. NJR so far has 31 kills.
Okay.
Iconic has 30. We give Iconic a lot of grace and like praise for his play so far, but NJR's got more kills than him. So if that sways your vote, let me know.
All right, well, yeah, let us know. You'll be able to do that, and we are going to go on the map momentarily. For now, though, let's learn a little bit more about the lovely team named Astralis.
Our motto this season is just to play to win.
The team has improved a lot. These guys are some of the best individual players in the league.
We're all having a great time so far. A lot more practice, a lot more VOD review. We're really just putting in a lot more hours.
I play looser, I play slower in better situations now, I talk more.
We have something to prove this year. We're coming out to prove it.
When we're at our best, we kind of just smoke teams. There's no reason we can't be top 4. We make plays, we don't second guess it. You want to go do it, you go do it, and whatever happens, happens.
We've made some key improvements, and I feel like we're working harder than ever to really reach our desired potential.
Overall, I think the changes were very good.
With the change of the IGL, like that obviously is a big change and like a much needed change.
Bringing in Forrest too, he's a playmaker.
I'm a shot call, basically an IGL at this point. I can come up with plans on the spot. When I bring into the team, my ideas, I'm kind of off the script type of guy. Like I don't like to follow the rule book.
Everything that Forrest does, that guy's just ridiculous.
Callout, him and I have been playing together and knowing each other since 2016, so we're kind of like best friends.
He's been making us grind a lot more, and I really appreciate that.
We've been back on the grind.
Bring more structure into our team, into our practice schedule, and into our actual practices themselves.
He has been phenomenal. He will really bring us to the next level, and that's another piece to the puzzle that we really needed.
The biggest thing I'm trying to bring on is, give them more freedom. There's always something we're working towards in practice.
I feel way more confident. We can really destroy everyone.
I'm looking forward to playing DarkZero.
I've always kind of had beef with them since my rookie year. When we joined DG, we mollywopped them in grand finals.
They're kind of like crap talking a little bit, so I'm excited.
The rivalry between DarkZero and my team, I gotta be with the boys on this one.
We smoked them stage 1, and then we smoked them stage 3.
Honestly, I got beef with DarkZero too. I said hi to them yesterday, no one looked up. No one said hi to me back.
They just gotta wake up and realize they're not that good. If I were in their shoes, I wouldn't be too excited to play us either this year, so I'll handle that on game day.
You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Lions, tigers, bears are my king of the jungle, I stand for the pride. Beat on my chest, that's the rhythm inside. I got so much heart, I'm burning with fire. Can't stop, won't stop till I drop. Keep climbing for the top. Simmer down, you too loud, people around. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. Won't stop. You can try, but I won't stop, won't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. I can't be stopped now, I can't stop. won't stop, won't stop. No more sleep till I rest in peace. No excuse till I die. No to all negativity. This is how we were living free. Dumb to anyone who wants to celebrate from where they came to the outcome. Then from now, what a change. Pick at the pace. No way I can slow it down. Give me a minute of your time, I can guarantee all things work for who believe. All it takes is the faith of a mustard seed. Who can stop what was meant for me? For me, yeah, this for me. For me, and I ain't for free. For me, yeah, this for me. For me, and I ain't for free. Pick your head up, no more defeat.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, getting ready to jump into our third match of the day. Bound to be a good one here between Astralis and DarkZero. Now, I will submit during that predictions segment, I tweeted a few minutes before that I originally had DarkZero down for this game, but with the way the map veto went, I decided to flip it and instead put my bet on Astralis for this one. They've been bringing some good stuff to the table, and I don't think there's going to be any room for them to be tripped up by any, new strategies or whatnot coming into play, because of the fact that we're going to Oregon, a map that, as I said during the last segment, has been, in my opinion, played out to a pretty good extent. So we'll have to wait and see if that's going to be true or not as we get into it. Stokes, let's get your thoughts on the situation, though, as we get prepared to battle between these two teams.
I mean, I agree with you in a lot of different facets there. I don't think that the map exactly, swayed me in every different way. I honestly just think that Astralis, as of right now, looks better than DarkZero does, if I'm being fully blunt with you. Past that, though, I think, if anything, the video kind of reinforced my ideals of what I was bringing coming in here, because Iconic,
Dude, look at him
talking
right now.
the most mess. Ice cold. Look at him stare down the opponent. He's like, they got nothing, man. They have absolutely nothing. That's exactly what he said in the video as well. He said, I would be scared of us if I was DarkZero.
Look at him. He's rubbing his hands together, man.
He's a man with a plan, dude. He's a dangerous guy. And the best part is, especially after these last couple of years, Astralis has nothing to lose. This is them fully trying to come into their own. And that's what I really like about this team. I think Callout and Forest, as I blend the names, really gave this team more structure. But it has allowed them to, flourish in such an incredible way this season, where we've been able to see them play this, aggressive style, and it really work out in their favor.
So we're going to see if that will be the case once again against DarkZero, a team that has been rebounding slightly here at the beginning of Stage 1, looking to pick up some wins of their own. But as you can see, Iconic is feeling confident. He seems to believe that they have got DarkZero's number and are going to have no problem taking them down. And they might just very well be correct about that. DarkZero not having the greatest performance, even if we look at their game yesterday on Villa. Let's focus on the attacking side for a moment. And just that early round, the team constantly struggled to even get the most minimal amount of map control, or at best clear out some roam presence. We talked about that during the analysis segment as well. That opening kill statistic is not looking very good for DarkZero, somewhere around 25%. So they are having a rough patch right now. But let's see if they can get themselves out of it. As we're going live with the map, ladies and gentlemen, it's on Oregon, once again, between DarkZero and Astralis, so you can claim some more points here in the NAL. Let's get into the ban phase, where Astralis is going to start us, as well as end us with our first and last bans, and DarkZero will take the two central ones.
Let's get into it, folks, and see what we're removing off rip. It's going to be the Thatcher ban. Pretty plain Jane here for a lot of our maps, but especially for Oregon. And speaking of Oregon, as they talked about on the desk, I figure we should touch on it, here as well, just so you guys are aware at home, for some of you that weren't able to watch that. Astralis, they haven't played this in quite some time, and that asks a lot of different questions. I think, if anything, obviously, well, the first part, we're going to get the answer here in a couple of minutes, but I really do think that Astralis, with Callout especially in, would not allow this to go to a map like this if they weren't prepared, especially up against DarkZero, where they have so much staff, and on top of that, you have Canadian inside of the lineup as well, who is always scary, especially when maps allow a little bit more of a strategical advantage on the defense. So, I think that there's a lot of things that can be done for both of these teams here, but I think what's going to separate both of them is got to be this offensive half and how they use this attacker repick.
All right, well, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. We are going live with the first round now, and it's going to start at an expected position for Astralis, since they'll be on the defensive side. They're going to head right down into the basement and lock themselves in. The operator lineup looks to be pretty much what we would come to expect. We'll get one little change up there at the very end of the pick phase as Shuttle heads over to a Jaeger instead there. Much more needed, I think, in this situation. You need still a little bit of utility mitigation. We saw yesterday how the Sonics made that mistake in banning out too much of it and then couldn't actually hold on to a lot of these sites, in part due to the fact that they did not have enough of it.
Absolutely the case, especially the elbow position, just so difficult for Super to hold down. That's past the blitz rush as well, which we ended ended up seeing. We could see again here today if DarkZero or Astralis want to pull it out once they're on the offensive side. We're almost through the initial prep phase here, though, as Astralis have clambered into the basement to start us off here. And it's going to be a pretty routine setup, kind of an extended hold upstairs here. Some reinforcements off towards the kitchen side just to make some of these pesky angles not as accessible to DarkZero unless they want to give up something for it. So this is going to allow Astralis some space around this mid-floor to just play spoils to DarkZero's clear.
All right, well, let's see if DarkZero can clear this out, as Astralis are going to be trying to cause some issues inside of the early round, maintaining their position on that first floor. DarkZero, of course, will be noticing that in just a few moments as they work their drones in to establish that presence a little bit more for themselves. And, of course, they're bringing plenty to try and counter out these positions, too, due to the attacker repick. We've got the Dokkaebi in for Canadian, as well as the Jackal from Hyper to try to lock down some of these players, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee they're going to be able to do so. This is a tricky setup from Astralis, and it could best DZ if they don't know how to handle it.
We'll have to see here. At least for the opening as of right now, not too bad of a showing for DZ, but they're losing so many drones again today. This is something that we saw yesterday with their clears of Villa. The drone economy, extremely poor. Now, the good news is that they have Canadian on the Dokkaebi, so they'll still have some phone calls to be able to get some semblance of information later on, but it really, really would like some backing from some drone info to come in there just so they actually know the exact position of where these Astralis members are. And a great hold here from Astralis. It's going to eventually come down to the moment where they all fall back here out of kitchen, down the security hatch, in through freezer, and now DarkZero have full control of the top and mid floor.
Let's see, of course, J9O keeping that stolen drone in check over here at the top of T3, I believe, so that might come into use a little bit later on in the round. And away from that, the rest of DZ just taking a beat for a second here, trying to make sure that there's not going to be any other problems they have to deal with before they begin their descent into the basement itself and go for that clear. Only half the round views so far, so still plenty of time.
John, just look at this right now. DarkZero, we're about halfway through the round, by the way. Three drones. That's it. That's all we have right now for DarkZero.
Wow, yeah,
There's no ability to clear out any of this, really. I'm assuming 2 of these are more than likely going to be dedicated to flank. The last drone will more than likely try and help out, at least getting some information. Now, remember, we already touched on Canadian having that extra phone call. Now, Hyper also has Jackal, and he still has 1 scan as well, so that's going to be some extra info they can get later. But Canadian's going to get countered out by the mute jammers if they're close to anybody. Luckily enough, Jackal will not. So DarkZero's still going to have an opportunity here, but that's going to allow Astralis to play so many off angles, like where DP Fire is right now.
DP Fire just taking the front of this potential push against himself as well. Continuing to wait it out. He's got support on the cross. They don't even expect him to be here either, so it's an easy double kill for DP Fire. Still no trade against him. NJR is going to rush through it, though, and somehow DP Fire doesn't get caught inside of it. Instead, it's Iconic going down. NJR is finally able to catch DP Fire, but at the same time, with Canadian knocking out Iconic, that's the center point of the site that's going to be opened up a little bit for DarkZero to try and utilize it. The problem being, though, Canadian now the only one standing. He had to go back out towards construction to pick up the case, and with less than 20 seconds left, this is going to be so tough to work in a 1v3. J9O has now re-established positioning over by the pillar, and Iconic just giggles as they shut down that last push attempt from the members of DZ to lock down the first round for Astralis.
Well, Astralis is trying to be here for a good time and not a long time. They don't want to stick around Oregon, John. They're looking for that 7-0 if they can get it. Obviously, only round 1, though, but what a beautiful round it was. It really, really sucks for DarkZero there, because I don't really think that they had a full-on insight as to what the strategy was, because they didn't have any cut for anybody to get out of the actual mid-floor. There was nothing really going on around the security hallway. There was really no takeover towards the meeting side that was going on. They were kind of just applying pressure to Astralis with their drones, feeding them all of the drones, and then Astralis just got to leave for free. And you're going to take that every single day of the week, especially when you have the denial that you already have. You have the Mozzie Pest. You also have the Mute Jammer. That's going to allow you to just play really any way you want downstairs. You can just rat out, and, well, that's what's going to happen, just like we saw with DP Fire.
All right, so a good start for Astralis and a great start specifically for DP Fire, getting away with an easy triple kill inside of the construction doorway, shutting down the large majority of DZ's push. We're going to see a lot of repicks coming in for DarkZero this time, though. You can see them all getting locked in now, as we're going to see the Flores brought in, as well as a Nomad. And NJR also bringing a Maverick into the fold, as they'll need to make up for that lack of hard breach here to try and work themselves into a second floor position.
I really like the overall, operator lineup for DarkZero, especially with the Flores coming in. I think think he's always a great addition, especially on a map like Oregon where you're going to have so many different defensive positions and just utility that you really, really want to get rid of. Now, the bearer of bad news has to come at some point, and it's the fact that, Mutant Mozzie still exist. And that's going to be very problematic depending on how they've played this out. Like, look at what's going on right now inside of the Master Closet, if you guys caught that there for a split second. We also have Iconic all the way in T3. This is just some rat-tastic plays here on Oregon. This is how you hold full map pressure and make DarkZero's lives very, very hard. That was so very close there. Didn't exactly know how that one was going to go, but Iconic, I believe, got the other one with the pest, and the second drone going to be dusted by his SMG.
Yeah, Iconic gambling a little bit there, hoping that there might have been a window of opportunity for him to peek out the window and catch that player had the first drone not have spotted him, but I believe it did end up catching him. So unfortunately, no error of surprise going to be made there by Astralis as they try to pick up the first kill, but Iconic still looking to find this frag. As you can see him priming the Nitro cell to chuck it out the window if an opportunity presents itself. Not looking like he's going to line up against it, though, as NJR seems to be far too aware of the current situation.
I love how Astralis is just driving on the limit at the moment. They're just playing out the map to the absolute edge just to make sure that DarkZero can't actually get a foothold and progress through. Already halfway through this round, and DZ really hasn't gotten too much done. Yes, they've finally gotten control of Master, but that was practically free for the moment just based off the positioning for Astralis once DarkZero were able to confirm it. Iconic downstairs, he's in T1 of Tower right now. DarkZero with no opportunity to really gather any more information over here as NJR's already lost all of his drones. You could say the same for a couple of different DZ members. Canadian lacking a drone, Pambazoo, he is gone, and Hyper's lost a drone as well here. Yet again, DarkZero getting punished in the info game.
J9O continuing to fend off against any potential breach of those attic walls also, while Iconic continues to hold that pinch from down below. DarkZero have a little bit of territory to work towards here in the attic, but it's a bit of best here as they're really just sitting at the threshold of being able to take anything at all. You can see Panba looking for a way to lean in here, but these Goyo Volcan shields, or at least the Volcan canisters, are reducing his HP so much as he tries to gather that intel. Regardless, DarkZero are going to try to press their way in as they take deeper out of control for themselves. J9O fends off the first attempt, but Panba is able to make his way through into small dorms with some assistance from Eclipse as he takes down J9O also. The plant's going down, but DP Fire's lost the plot. He can't find the point of plant, and with that, it's going to go down with no issue. Eclipse sneaks it in, and DarkZero have it on the ground at a 4v3.
Fantastic so far from DZ as they recognize no one's playing inside of Attic and quickly move into Kids and get this plant down. Now with the post plant, Canadian with a fantastic angle outside of Kids double. Hyper now with the cross from Master. He gets gunned from Iconic though. Fantastic shot from him. He's going to take a lot more in order to clutch this out though. Canadian lead off here. He'll swing into it. Won't be able to tag him up. A shuttle finally goes down. DP Fire as well. It's all left up to Iconic here as Pambazoo's gotten a quad. Able to take out at least the man inside of Attic, but it's all for naught as Pambazoo will be able to secure the frag and the round for DarkZero.
A massive round from Pambazoo and a massive play from DarkZero overall as they're able to brute force their way into the deep attic position as well. Just swing the rotate inside of Kids and work their way to take full site control. Astralis lost so much map so quickly, so much map control, excuse me, so quickly here that they just did not know how to respond to it. Even those players that were on the first floor trying to roam out against it could not get back quickly enough as DarkZero took too much control far too quickly. And with that, they're going to be able to trade out this round and put us at a 1-1 scoreline.
We were hyper-focused for most of that round on the engagement that was going on around Tower, but the real...
Ended up like not mattering for the most part.
It didn't at all, and the reason being is because Astralis had a massive gap in the defense. That attic space is completely empty, and DarkZero just pushed through Trophy quickly after a Goyo goes off and just walk into Kids. That's not supposed to happen, especially when Astralis has their entire man count. Literally everybody's alive, and you're going to tell me that no one is watching one of the main doors to the actual site? That's a big oversight there from Astralis, unfortunately for them. But, I mean, another thing is that they still have a lot of attempts going on this defensive side, and it starts here with Kitchen and Cafe.
Bold from Astralis, too. They are not going to go for any sort of reattempt on that second floor hold, despite the method with which DarkZero was able to work their way into the site. So Astralis will continue to hold back. And now it moves onward once again to that first floor hold that Stokes had just mentioned. A much more different setup, too. A lot more horizontal play going to come into the picture this time for Astralis, and obviously much bigger emphasis on the first floor. It does not mean, of course, we don't have any vertical play at all. Still should be a bit of a hold from the Astralis team as they attempt to maintain the Kids' dorm position there between Forest position mainly. A little bit of reinforcement and a few gadgets deployed there to be able to help him out, too. And if he can maintain this, or DarkZero is ignorant to this position, he can be an absolutely lethal part of this defense and fending off any plant attempts that DarkZero may try to go for early on here. But it's not looking like they are going to ignore it. We can see some pressure building up for them inside of the attic already as they clear that out. And Canadian actually swinging right through meeting, so he's got to be a little careful from this point forward. I believe that's where we'll see those drones coming in to help him out by the main door.
All right, so Canadian's going to pop the hatch open. That'll allow them to drop and rotate towards Freezer for like a quick access to security or white stairs, really whatever you want to go for there. So I really like that from them. Also going for this back end, this is going to apply quite a bit of pressure to Iconic here. This is going to call into Shuttle to do some heavy lifting here for the Z space, as well as just holding on to security for this cross. Really need to stay alive around that area, because if DarkZero get a foothold on that at all, a lot of Astralis' rotates are cut off, and there's not too much you can do about it. Now Pambazoo will be able to get the Rotero drones going here and start opening up some holes up top, and the same for the rest of the DarkZero lineup here, as we have some of these Somas go down, and it's going to go down on a multitude of different floors here. They've already opened up the meeting wall here, as well as the attic space in towards kids. So a lot of this clear already going off without a hitch, but Astralis has been able to maintain.
Hyper, and Hyper again is going to be able to pick up the first 2 kills for DZ before Shuttle's able to trade one out, and it's against Hyper too. Some shots ringing out a little bit earlier might have saved his teammate's life, but it's too early to worry about that, as DarkZero are continuing to frag out here, with NJR picking up the most recent frag here against another member of the Astralis roster. A 4v2 already deployed. That's full site control seemingly in the hands of DarkZero as well. Shuttle's going to try to push his way back out. Forrest does grab one from up on top, but he's not going to be able to stop the plant, and he's lost his only other support from down below, trying to lurk out through those main stairs. Forrest now alone in this 1v3, looking for a clutch, looking for a way to descend just to get on the same point where he needs to counter defuse this, but he can't even accomplish that, as he might just try to hop down the hatch here and hope for the best, and unfortunately the best is really going to be the worst, as he's taken out pretty much immediately by that drop, and DarkZero claimed the lead as well as a second round.
That was a great round from them. You know, I really like how they took map control, especially on that top floor. They cleared out Forest so very quickly, and that gave them so much control over the site. That site, especially when it comes to kitchen and cafeteria, is so hard to try and play retake for. Once that case goes down, there's really not much you can do, especially when they had the top hold for so very long, and the case is now inside of a portion of the site that is completely defended by all of the outside elements. Like you can't access any of that from inside of dorms or any verticality from inside of that area up top. So
it's like a weird double-edged sword, because obviously the defenders maintain all those positions at the beginning of the round, so it works reversely for them when the plant attempt just try to go off. But as soon as you lose that, it just flips right on its head, and you are facing against the very same issues you were using at the beginning of the round.
Exactly. So that inside of that situation, at least, right? It shows its ugly head, mostly because Astralis, they still have their full-on man count inside of that situation when they fall off, but that site overall is just so unbelievably difficult to try and play that way that they just get iced from DarkZero. There's nothing that they can do in order to fight back, because they already have the crosses established, they have the pressure inside of site, they're getting that case down. It was just a very hard-fought round for them. Unless something really sways back in their way, like Iconic gets like a 2K on the entry inside of kitchen or something like that and doesn't die to the hatch, then I can see that going their way, but just unfortunately not for them. But now, round 4, up and on to it, as DarkZero already out and about on the map. J9 with some early contact, but a drone will be able to suss this out as he's forced back to kitchen.
Astralis may want to consider pulling back on these more extended style of plays due to the fact that DarkZero seems to be leaning ignorance to those extended positions and going directly for the site, at least as of the last 2 rounds on the upstairs and first floor holds. They've been able to brute force their way past those extensions and get access to the site while it's relatively undefended with only 2 to 3 players sitting on the inside. It's a little bit different though. For a basement hold, you do have to work directly past it. There's no real way to bypass it here, as a DarkZero are working on quickly flushing that out, and this is a great improvement from yesterday's performance already in terms of what we're seeing in the early round from DZ here. So once again, Astralis' most of these first and second floor positions are going to be dealt with inside of the first minute. We can see Forrest still trying to poke a little bit from this backstairs spot, but not really able to accomplish too much, as we've seen. Already losing about half of his own HP and only really trading about half of it back on NJR.
A deadly angle there adopted by NJR that it's watching the back tower stairs and just making life hard for Astralis. So DP Fire and Forest both taking a little bit of heat, but won't go down. They'll be able to maintain their lives and play it out on site. DarkZero now with control of the map, and will begin getting hatches open soon. That's going to be onto Eclipse here. And speaking of the early game, like you were talking about, John, and they're looking a little bit better when it comes to their drone economy right now. They've only lost 4 drones, and they're on Hyper and Pambazoo, so those are the more forward characters. You expect them to be losing a couple of drones, especially early as you're trying to get some info. And speaking of those two, Hyper actually going to end up nailing a nade into DP Fire. He'll go down, and some of these Goyos go in as well. Hyper getting aggressive with the back stairs. He'll take down Forrest, swings for Fraser, and takes down J9 as well. Shuttle inside of sight, rather. Swings out for elbow, and JR will pick him up, and it's a 5 versus 1 for Iconic.
Iconic finally going to be able to pick up the first kill, the first response to this. A little bit of a mess up there as we're going to see Canadian accidentally knock out his teammate due to taking out that Volcon, I believe is how that counts as a team kill there. So he goes down to that. Iconic now, a little bit more of a palatable round, but it'll all be for naught as he peeks out into the wrong angle, peeks into the pillar cross where Canadian is waiting to shut him down and secure yet another round for DZ as they continue to tear apart these setups from Astralis just by overwhelming them with multiple pushes coming in from multiple angles. And Astralis seemingly don't know how to deal with it, don't know how to fend off both of these pushes at once, and as a result of that, are continuing to lose the sight round after round after round.
Yeah, some very consistent pickups for DZ inside of the opener here, at least in these last 2 rounds especially. The pressure that's coming out from them inside of this round, very well done. Didn't dedicate too many drones to the clear. They were able to force them back quickly and then assert dominance over the site. They make sure that the tower stairs rotation isn't there. That was a great pickup by NJR, by the way. He knew that Astralis wanted to play aggressively throughout these rounds, so quickly gets to that attic hatch and picks up that angle. And also makes it almost an easier situation for Hyper as well, because that frag grenade ends up picking up DP Fire there, and he ended up taking damage from that earlier engagement. So, you know, it's just those little things sometimes that can possibly get you in trouble, but past that, it's just down to that execution like you were talking about. Just a quick drop into E-Hash and off-time execute there, and it catches all of Astralis off guard. I mean, Forrest is looking the completely wrong way on the tower stairs.
See, it looks like Forrest doing most of the talking inside of that timeout for Astralis as they take a beat, try to figure out what the best path forward is going to be, whether it's pulling back the aggression, trying to move away from these earlier fights that maybe they were hoping they could capitalize against DarkZero given their performance yesterday. That plan has clearly not worked, so what's going to be the new one for Astralis as they play out these last 2 rounds of their defensive half here? We'll find out in just a second as they're piecing together their upstairs setup now as they finally return to this for the first time since the 2nd round.
Let's see how it goes. Iconic had an interesting play inside of the last round that we had here, where he sat inside of T3 for an elongated period of time and ended up falling back to T1. There was a nice pinch play going on for Astralis around that area that didn't end up boding too well for them. Instead, it was DarkZero who flooded in through Trophy, got out of control, took control of dorms, and then planted the case, and were able to win the round based off that. Now we'll see if DZ have something else up their sleeve as round 5 has started. Hyper out towards the south side. They're likely trying to move towards the building and see if he can capitalize on any drones that they have in early here. Just going to go to the roof instead and see what DarkZero can possibly get done here.
Looking like a lot more of the same as far as Astralis is concerned so far, though. Lots of presence on the first floor here between Shuttle, J90, and that other player over towards Small Tower. Iconic also still going to be trying to mess around with things here inside of T3, but oh man, the timing is just awful. Walks up and there's 3 different members of DZ rappelling through all the windows, so he will get cut off with no problem at all for DZ. Shuttle is going to try to make up for this as he approaches the backstairs door, but also gets a little bit timid as he gets towards that door due to the just large amount of presence that's currently here from DZ. They'll move away from that, though, and DP Fire even goes for a wild swing outside of Small Tower. Astralis just grasping at straws right now to try to get any type of advantage and coming up empty.
Yeah, absolutely. The aggression's very odd right now as well. Not so much for DP Fire, but for Iconic. I mean, committing to climbing the tower ladder at like 215. Yeah, right? I don't know. I don't know if I like that one too much. Kyle might be talking to him about that one a little bit later on. It might have been just something inside of setup or something along those lines where Iconic couldn't exactly get his utility down, and they were like, oh, well, you still got to play your spot, man, and pushed him on over there. Trust me, it's happened a million times to everyone, including myself, and it sucks every single time that it happens. So now for DZ, this clear going swimmingly, obviously. Minus the drone count. Always got to make you guys aware of that, because what is going on here? Only 3 drones exist for DZ. Minute and 15 seconds left, and yes, they do still have the Yana, but a lot to ask of these last handful of drones.
This is the one benefit to the way that Astralis is playing right now, because they're remaining so mobile and keeping so many different players just spread out among the secondary floors they're trying to play for, is DarkZero have to constantly re-drone these positions time after time again while they're clearing them. So they don't really have a choice. They have to drain out their drone count because there's just so much to tear apart from Astralis. And DarkZero, if they are wanting to properly clear it, do have to reconfirm these players are still there after they spot them once or twice on a drone.
Yeah, and Astralis playing the buddy system very well right now.
Great delay here.
Gonna have 2 people down low, 2 people up top to make sure that this dorms execute doesn't go off too well. Canadian now coming in through Z. They know somebody has to be playing in security, but What's the move here? Is it the stun? Is it the frag? It's the frag first. Shuttle's going to take a little bit of damage, but it's actually going to be DP Fire that has first contact. Canadian, he'll pick up Shuttle, and DP Fire will go down, but 20 seconds remain. They have to get this plant off. Another frag grenade out. J9 goes searching for anything inside of Attic, but he won't find anything. Forrest continues delay here for the big window. Has a shotty out, but SMG-11 instead. He'll take down one, and so will J9. Drops off as he knows the case is outside. J9 sticks to it inside of Attic. He'll be able to pick up one. It's Hyper to lose out on Forrest, and now the plant will start. J9, you still have to clutch up, but it's Hyper who takes him down inside of Attic. He finds the tiniest angle, and he wins out the engagement.
Low time doesn't seem to matter much for DZ as they continue to excel inside of these executes despite the fact that they are going up against the dying seconds of the round. Beautiful stuff from them. At the same time, great delay from Astralis, just poor follow-through on making sure it continued to hold their positions up until those final seconds of the round there. We saw them wasting so much time with that roam over around kitchen and cafeteria as well as security, but it all led to naught as DarkZero was eventually able to, at great cost to their drone economy, figure that one out and find the angles needed to take down those players with minimal losses of their own coming in throughout the process.
It was an amazing adaptation for Canadian, especially with his audible to push in through Z, hold the opposite angle for security, and then just play out that situation. You apply the pressure to the player on bottom white, get the security player to swing, and they pick up both kills. Nobody dies for DarkZero.
Yep.
Very, very impressive right there, because that's usually a situation where you're more than likely going to lose someone, but fortunately enough for DZ, did not happen, and they're able to just use the rest of that man advantage to pressure the site players and make it almost impossible for them to lose that. I like that Astralis were able to at least pick up the player outside, but DarkZero, they were just on it, man. They're all on the same page and really aware of the situation that was at hand. And for Astralis, I mean, yeah, Forrest is able to get the case down, but dropping off of site might not have been the play there, really.
We'll have to see if Astralis can potentially catch on to their mistakes, as plenty of them are starting to build up here. We saw that inside of the middle point of round number 5 about how they seem almost desperate to try and find an opening pick for themselves with those wild swings coming out through the small tower door and the one we nearly got out of the left side back stairs door also. They're really trying to pick up an early advantage that they can make their final hold inside of that last 30 seconds or so a bit easier to pull off by having a 5v4 or a 5v3 advantage, but it just, except for that first round, really has not been happening here for Astralis, and they've been unable to fight on even terms with DZ when they are ready to go for the actual site play.
Yeah, it was really the first round that we saw Astralis show the best form of themselves, and past that, it's just been damage to the drone economy and DarkZero being able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Here for round 6, we could have the opportunity of a 5-1 split to DZ as they begin the clear of the top floor. Still plenty of time in order to do this. Pambazoo Buck open the top of Attic, making it easily accessible for any throwable they so choose, and it's going to be stuns and frags to go through and make this wall accessible for Habana, which they will apply along this area. And it's actually going to get shot up by DP Fire, who's found an angle here instead of the main area for dorms. Back and forth we go between these two on the top floor.
Astralis continuing to hold this pinch and hope that it is going to lead itself into a better position for themselves in the late round, but that's where things have been constantly falling apart. This is where we usually see the round start to turn itself a little bit in DZ's favor as they clear that first player or two, but Iconic has the setup to fire in some shots from deep inside of Big Tower here on the other side of Attic, but none of them are going to connect, and now DZ know he's there, so they can begin to set up their own counter to knock him out. J9 similarly is going to take some heat as he recently got hit by a bullet to bring him down to about 2/3 of his HP, and Forrest is in a similar spot. Elsewhere on the map, DP Fire has been knocked out entirely by Hyper, who's continued to really excel in this game, by the way. A massive game from him so far, 9-4, as he struck first once again here from DZ by knocking out DP Fire.
He's looking seriously good right now, but we've ran back into the same wall for DZ that could potentially give Astralis, especially after that, their second round. The drone economy is in shambles. It's down to Hyper that has the last drone, as well as any bit of info game that DZ has left. Forrest will take down yet another DZ member, Pambazoo, to fall, and it's a 4 versus 3 here, but the plant's starting to go down as Eclipse will be sticking this. Canadian with the cross here, but whoa, he'll actually be able to live and get back into split there. I thought they had it for just a second, but Shuttle knows exactly where he is. Extremely winnable, but that's going to be all she wrote, as Canadian's been down by the MX4 Storm, and Astralis have found their second round.
Astralis don't even realize they'd fully wiped out DZ there for a second as they downed both the players, remaining at pretty much the exact same time. But either way, a much more solid hold that time, both on the extended game and their actual site control. We'd seen Astralis' extended game get torn apart far too many any time, which is, again, huge contrast to the performance from DZ we'd seen yesterday, where they were struggling to even clear out the most basic of those types of setups on Villa. Clearly not the case, as they are much more well-rehearsed in doing so here on Oregon, even with some of the more strange setups we've been seeing from Astralis' side. And with that, they're going to be able to take 4 rounds on the attack as we now flip the sides, and DZ gets to bring us onto their own defensive half.
It was very well done. A lot of DarkZero's adaptations there went off without a hitch. I mean, you really can't say anything too badly about it, especially, you know, having to deal with a lot of those situations on low info. It was just very, very well done from them. That's a lot of trusting your teammates and just being willing to, you know, take one for the team in a couple of different scenarios. So very well done from them. But now they're on the defensive end. They're going to be starting things off in the basement, and could be an interesting round here as NJR has adapted to the Warden, one that we don't get to see too often.
This poll is not very useful right now. I just want to cut in for a second. They have like the exact same stats at the moment.
Well, no,
4, 5,
no.
and 1. 4, okay, NJR's got 1 more assist.
Yeah, and that counts, John, okay? If you're 1 off of a triple-double, do you have a triple-double?
He's got like
no,
you
don't have a triple-double.
He's got like half a kill more than Iconic does right
now. But
so.
Maybe it was an impact assist.
It could have been.
I couldn't even say that with a straight face.
Either way, it's a tight race. So the poll continues, folks, as we checked in on that for you. But let's get into this round once again, as we have Astralis about to assault the building for the first time here against the basement hold, and we do have some shenanigans being deployed by DZ, 1 or 2 players, mainly trying to mess with the back stairs positions. We can see Hyper leaning into that now. He knows he's got a bit of confidence brewing after his performance from the first half, so he's going to try to extend this a little bit into the second half. Unfortunately, won't lead to a whole lot here. As you can see, there's really no one from Astralis trying to pressure this position right now. They're focused much more on that usual small tower clear that we often see teams default to at the beginning of a basement assault.
And double checking the top floor as well. Just want to make sure there's no roamers that could possibly get in their hair later on, as for us to begin opening up the hatches. Astralis have got to worry about these stairwells, though, as Pambazoo trying to play spoils for Big Tower, but he's going to fall back instead to Freezer, where he can play safely. As for Astralis, though, still a little bit of a road ahead of them as the security hatch will pop open. They'll be able to start applying pressure to a lot of these different DarkZero positions around the map. More than likely, we'll start around Hyper's position over towards Pillar and then start to spill out other places, but haven't really been able to pull anyone any way just yet.
So for Astralis, they'll continue to bide their time, continue to look for the appropriate amount of intel, and as well tear apart the interior bits of this setup that they're going to be able to do so with those Flores drones. We see Gen just shuffle them out one by one. One already exploded. The second one is already deployed, although this one's going to get caught this time over there in the freezer hallway for those who noticed that. Either way, we've got a few members of DZ more than ready to fend off this assault from the primary basement hallway, as we can see them starting to line up in angles against that type of a push, as well as deploying some of their own defensive utility. One of the Toxic Babes going out over here towards the laundry stairs bottom area to stop the push from Astralis.
All right, well, finally, we see what Astralis' game plan is, and it's happening right now. Forced to push forward, but now the case is down. Shuttle will trade it out. Somebody has to pick this case back up, but it's damn well not going to be Shuttle, as he's able to pick 2 more up. Pambazoo will take down J9, but it's a quick trade for Iconic, as finally, after the dust settles, it's a 3 versus 2. Make it a 3 versus 1, as it's a late flank from DP Fire down the tower stairs. Canadian has the cross inside of construction, but does he know the Pillar player is here? That's a real question. Looks to the right, and DP Fire picks the perfect time in order to peek that ice cold from Iconic as he stares down the DZ bench.
I'm just trying to.
Doesn't even look away from the fist bump, dude.
Is he doing this? Is he doing this for the camera, or is this an intimidation tactic? That's what I need to figure out now. Because man, if I gotta look over to my opponents every time I lose a round, I see that face, man, I'm shook.
Dude, I'm shook anytime we see the Astralis lineup. You guys, have you seen Iconic stare down in their Astralis photos for their day-to-day use?
Hard, man. It's hard.
Dude, he's just like. I get like chills in my soul, man. I'm like, oh, okay, David, relax, man, relax, breathe. This is video games, right? I'm just kidding. But no, Astralis, I mean, fantastic round for them there. Really loved just how forceful that was, because that's exactly what it needed to be. You don't want to sit there and really tell us straight to DarkZero, hey guys, we're going for a laundry take. No, you want to be fast and quick, and that's exactly what they were. Quickly trade out Forrest there as he gets pretty aggressive towards the closet mirror, and that doesn't really work out for him, but luckily enough, they have a shuttle, and he's able to pick up 2 quick kills after that, so very well done.
Yeah, the seemingly, like, as far as DarkZero is concerned at least, the seemingly random backstairs push really throws them off as well. There, you can see that he's holding just outside of that corner angle, thinking that he's safe, that this is it. Their push is entirely contained to just the depths of Laundry as well as Freezer. Suddenly, oh, someone else works their way in, and it's at a really awkward time as well. So great stuff from Astralis to make that such a confusing situation for DZ to deal with and get into the site with relative ease. Beautiful stuff from them. The Intimidation game certainly working out well, but the score game not so much just yet. But they are on a warpath to quickly bring that back under their control with only 1 round separating them from DZ's scoreline now.
Yes, indeed. We've got ourselves a ball game, folks. We'll just have to see how it goes. Round 8 on the docket as of right now, and not too much action going back and forth just yet. Just Astralis pacing themselves out, making sure that they can get to the parts of the map that they really need to in the current moment. Speaking of which, Canadian can actually have a couple of kills here if he chooses correctly. He gets one, but Iconic with a beautiful flick. Unfortunately, though, it's going to be Shuttle's nades gone, only traded out for Canadian. Those Prismas will stick around as well, just to give DZ some extra insight if they do get tagged.
Definitely a greater loss on Astralis' side there in terms of utility going away, as you had already talked about with those frags being deleted, unused, unfortunately, by the members of Astralis. Shuttle will now have to contribute just from the cams throughout the rest of this game, but still a few other members of the team that can contribute, both in the frag department as well as the impact play. It's going to be DP Fire catching a second attempt to play from the windows. Panba becomes a victim of it this time, and the action broils on as now NJR also falls to Forrest. Forrest will open up his own opportunity to put the case down on the ground, nearly prevented, but DP Fire again saving the day with his second kill of the round, knocking out Eclipse from down below. Hyper, the only one left. He tries to get a flick reaction going, but they just cannot sustain against the aggression from Astralis as they contain another round for themselves. And Iconic once again begins to celebrate now that they're starting to take the lead.
We have 3 members of Astralis that aren't even looking at their teammates. They are all staring at the DarkZero bench and just talking the most in between rounds. Personally, I love it. This is what you want out of esports, man. It makes things so very entertaining, especially when you got an old head on the other team like Canadian.
I feel like there's going to be a request from an anonymous team after this game of like, can we put a barrier in between the
yeah, and you know what? If they put that barrier there, John, I would personally pay for a plane ticket and I would kick the barrier down. That's what I would do. You guys would be like, why is Stokes not commentating today? And you just see me walk into the Vegas esports arena.
Some housekeeping duties.
Yeah, just like full on front kick the thing off the stage. No way. It's not being allowed. We must let Astralis talk mess. It's just giving me life, man. I'm loving today. I'm loving the way that we're starting this off, especially at a 4-4 scoreline.
It's going to be another basement hold coming in for DZ. One repick will show its face, but it's relatively minor here for Astralis, just adding a few extra nades to the table, as well as the extra intel that will come from the operators' drones, if you want to use that terminology. It's obviously going to be Yana coming in for J9O. That means the Geminis can help out a little bit more here in terms of setting up for potential executes for Astralis. DZ, though, bringing a lot of the same notes. More utility mitigation going to be coming in for them, as we see both the Wamai as well as the Jaeger here to try and prevent the nade dumps from DZ. And on top of that, in the event we see any flash play, NJR has also joined the fray as the Warden to try and catch some of that.
Yeah, I guess the real play with the Warden, or the real question rather, of the play of the Warden, is if you compare it to the last round of what Astralis did, what does Warden exactly do that prevents them from doing what they did the last time? Because there was no stun play, there was no frag play, it was simply run at you and try and take gunfights. So we'll have to see if that possibly plays into the hand of DZ this time around. I don't really think that it will, just because more than likely Forest will be used as burn, and DP Fire more than likely will rat out again this round, I would assume. More than likely not going to be using those smokes to break up any line of sight or anything like that, where NJR would be able to capitalize so easily with those goggles. Now for Astralis, though, we're back to the basics of Oregon, especially when it comes to the basement. We have got to get these hatches open. I just can't stand all of these hatches. They've got to go.
So Astralis will want to access every point of view there, and they'll certainly be able to accomplish that before they begin their own descent. Iconic leading the charge from Freezer's side, and J9O providing the intel for him as he creeps his drone around the corners of the Freezer push. That's Iconic now into the site. He'll get good point of view onto the hallway, and Iconic's actually going to take a bit of a gamble. Oh, beautiful! Done by Iconic here. He's going to pick up 2 for free. NJR does trade out on the shuttle, but the floodgates have now been opened. The rest of the team is in, but Daisy is still holding back the tides. NJR fends off Forest. We're back into an even kill in a 3v3. Neither team with an advantage, and unfortunately for Astralis, you can see it there in the middle of the screen. The case is down. They need to get someone up against that laundry wall to be able to pick it up and plant it. Iconic finds it, but he's also taken out by NJR. This is falling apart suddenly for Astralis after they had such a promising start. Look at this now from Eclipse. He'll creep up. They don't know he's there. Gets the one, but he's traded out, and now all the pressure comes down to DP Fire as he's got to find these last 2 members of DZ, but look at how low they are. NJR and Canadian, both with about a third of HP remaining to try and fight out this round. DP Fire's probably not going to know that, though, so we still got to play this so cautiously. There's the first peek. There's the first bit of intel as he knows where that first player's playing at, but no, the timing is bad. DP Fire will lose another third of his HP. Tries to swing, tries to lock down, but NJR is just playing with them now. Finally, DP Fire, he'll get that first kill, and there's still 30 seconds left, so DP Fire can do this, but now he'll be at a disadvantage, but what a shot from DP Fire as he clutches it out huge for Astralis, and they take the lead.
DP Fire with the long-range GAT. DarkZero just put on notice right there. What was that? Oh my.
The literal one-tap.
Out of the F2 of all guns as well. That is not a one-tap machine. That is just let me send a myriad of bullets your way and let them make you Swiss cheese. But what a round from Astralis there, and it's going to immediately provoke a timeout from DarkZero. They've got to talk about some things, because if I had that happen to me, I would be in shambles.
Yeah, DarkZero, look at him. Silent as the grave.
Look at Eclipse.
As far as we
I'm
can
Eclipse
see.
right now. This is literally a live view of just like, man.
It's like, man, what was I supposed to do about that? Like,
dude, you just shot me in the face.
Look
man.
at this, man. DarkZero are stunned right now. They don't know what to think of themselves.
Canadians like, I don't know, boys, just shoot back. I don't, like, you got to win those. You gotta, it's you know what it is, John? It's every ranked game with any of your friends ever. Man, just stop peeking. What are you doing? You're just standing in the angle. No, honestly, I think there's a lot of different things, though, if we're being serious, that DarkZero can do about those kind of situations. It's just super unfortunate that we saw, I believe, Canadian get locked so far forward inside of that positioning there around the supply closet, because there's no real way that you escape that once he knows you're there. It's either you win the engagement or you lose the engagement. You're not allowed to leave. So it's just really, really unfortunate that it ends up breaking down that way. You know, I think that they had a lot of really, really good trades, and they're able to get it to the situation, but, I mean, you really just gave it over to DP Fire. You made the kid look stellar.
Some beautiful stuff indeed. And let's not forget the contribution from Iconic to start that one off.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
that
We
was
saw the drone sneaking in. I think they caught it on the drone just before it got shot. They're like, okay, there's at most one person watching this hallway from the left side. So Iconic, you push this, you probably got a free 2K, 3K minimum. He takes the chance on it, goes in, and absolutely shreds 2 players to pieces. And that suddenly opens up the laundry play for the rest of the team to work their way in.
John, we're getting even more sneaky with Iconic. We're not creeping into Freezer this time around, though. Might be creeping around other aspects, but creeping all the same, because Nook is now into play, and that Hell Presence sensor is going to help him sneak past all of these DZ cams.
Let's see if Astralis will be able to keep their luck rolling in their favor here. Now with the lead in check, just 2 more rounds needed for them to shut down this game and continue their excellence as they try to go further and further up the ratings here at the NAL. Already passing DarkZero, as you can see from our record. They're at number 4. DarkZero's number 6, despite these 2 teams having an even record right now. Chance for Astralis to push that even further today, though, with another win and a potential 3-1 record sitting in their favor. DarkZero does not want to let that happen, though. They were having a good start to this stage. They are looking to rebound as well after some shaky international results. They need to be able to keep their presence at those events to keep improving there, so they want this win just as much as Astralis does.
DarkZero is going to be extremely spread here, and Astralis, fantastic idea here. They really need to clean out the basement. Oregon, this always happens, especially on more of a kitchen site or even top floor sometimes, where you have these roamers down low that could possibly have a nitro cell or really anything at all. Just the potential to have a roamer down here that could possibly use one of the 3 staircases you have access to. That's just enough to drawn out this area. There's so many different ways they could play out if you let them have that possibility. But now, for Canadian, unfortunately enough for him, he's got shuttle, and he's dead, because how do you win that? You don't have a magnified sight, and he's already got your ang. So it's over for him, but now it's going to be over for Iconic, as Pamazoo finds him. I don't know where the Nook went down, but unfortunately enough for them, that's going to be nades off the board as well.
1-to-1 exchange. Both players, or both teams rather, will sit with 4 still standing tall after that fades away. And as well, half the round remaining for Astralis trying to use here. But you can see DarkZero trying to take a bit of an aggressive positioning on their own. Does push a few players down that front main stairs position to try and watch out for any shenanigans being played around the front door. Won't be able to find them, although players from Astralis definitely were close, as now DarkZero begins to peel back some of those positions to get them a bit closer to the site to play out this remaining minute and 15 seconds here. Either way, it's gone very quiet suddenly in terms of Astralis trying to make any sort of plays here. NJR will get spotted out on his top backstairs position, but seems like he wants to stick around here. He can delay so much time with those toxic babes, and he's going to use it.
Make this situation extremely difficult for Astralis, and the harder part about this is any of these smoke nades that go the way of Finka or anybody, if that Adrenal Surge is proc, it deals more damage, so that's going to make things even more difficult for them. Now swinging back and forth, and JR will be able to pick up one of the Astralis members, at least damage-wise, but won't be able to take him down. Hyper instead will be there as DP Fire fights back, and he'll get the flank off yet again here from Split. Shuttle with a great cover on the attic approach here for DZ. Now it's all down to Pambazoo, but he's about to be swung from the kitchen hallway, and Shuttle will pick that up too. He's got a sixth sense, man. I'm telling you, he is just everywhere and nowhere all at once. It's extremely, extremely incredible. But Astralis, yet again, so much energy on this bench as Iconic lets him know.
I can't help but laugh every time I see him, man. Iconic just going off like crazy here. Doesn't matter what the circumstances in the round. It's like, hey! Just yelling it out. So some great stuff from Astralis as they are now in pole position here and are about to lock down the map at a 6-4 scoreline. Only one more round is needed, and they'll take it all home. Now DarkZero needs to win 2 in a row, and that's only to trigger overtime. So where will they take it? I believe back into the basement, and indeed that is the case. Operator lineup is going to look pretty similar to what we have seen from this team previously on this site as well.
So, real question. If Jacob got a laptop for getting the most right the last time, what am I going to get? Not only for beating him, but for beating the rest of you. And possibly the coin.
I'm catching up.
You're catching up.
I'm only like 6% behind you right now.
I can't say the same for Pengu, but at least somebody's catching up.
The coin's fallen behind. The coin had its week in week 1. Now it's...
Yeah, but you know what the problem is? This is only the second week.
True.
So Doa could go home and do some more cultist magic on that thing, and it's just all over for all of us. I don't know. I don't know where he's got this magic fairy dust hidden inside of like his kimono or anything, but I mean, thank you for pointing that out, John. This is one of my favorite.
He was going to go Flores too. It was going to be a very plain Jane sort of lineup here, and then he made it real spicy with that switch up at the end.
I mean, who likes basic strategy, though? Especially when Ubisoft has given us attacker repick. Now I get to drone the building and see all the things I could possibly do with all the other dumb tools I have. And so, well, one of them happens to be Blitz. So
I'm curious to see how this is going to work out for Astralis, because we don't have that usual construction extension going on here for DZ's defensive setup right now. So it won't be using that traditional method to just push right through construction, or at least not to kill that specific player, as we've been seeing it used the most for it over the past few days. I say that, but there is a player down there. I didn't see a shield a second ago, though, so I'm not sure if that got deployed in the start of the round, and then basically we'll end up seeing him used for that purpose. But we could see for DP Fire specifically, he's way off from that spot right now. So
yeah, I think Eclipse is going to be playing that elbow area, but I mean, for Astralis as well, another way that you could use Blitz here, it's not going to be as strong because of the elbow rush. There's really nowhere for him to go except for the rotation, but you could also use it inside a freezer as well, and really get up that hallway and kind of play around the door and stuff like that, because it's always difficult trying to just fend off a Blitz in a situation where he's able to flash you and
so they do
get within close range. So yeah, they're more than likely going to end up going for that with Eclipse. And the other beauty of this is that DP Fire is more than likely going to be able to help with the roam clear. I think that's actually what they have him doing right now. I think he's clearing out kitchen and everything else with this drone of J9. So looks like they're going to be able to at least get some info on this mid floor and hopefully transition this into their execute.
That is another interesting facet of the attacker repick, is we're going to probably start to see that more and more, because I mentioned at the beginning of the round we didn't really see the extended setup there inside of that elbow position. Obviously they did it after the drone phase was finished, because now there's a chance that they hit it from any potential attacker repicks, and they can try to bring that out in the hopes that maybe they didn't switch up anything for it because they weren't expecting anything to be there in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. If you remember, that was a super popular thing when the utility meta was a thing. They would just move Goyo shields around and move ADSs around and just try and get in front of that offense so that they actually had to deal with the clear. So I think it's a great idea. It's definitely something that's been looked at before, but kind of in a different light. So I definitely think it's a smart thing just to kind of force them to re-drone or get some extra info after the fact where they can't influence their picks with that. So really, really good pick up there, John. Either way, though, we're down to 47 seconds here as well. Guys, this is Oregon. This is how it goes sometimes. We got some damage onto Canadian, but that's about it. DP Fire awaiting the drop here for E-Box.
Yeah, that came in from either Iconic or Shuttle's nades that were used prematurely here as they try to chuck those against Canadian and flush out the positions, reinforcing the backstairs. Unfortunately, with limited success, as you can see, Canadian as well as Panba still here, but DP Fire's going in.
What?
Didn't account for Panba sitting in the corner, but Iconic and Forrest are going to be able to trade out both of those positions while Eclipse contributes to his own second kill. Now we're going to see here where the Warden can help out as well as he can peer through those smokes. He'll pick up one more kill before getting traded out to J90, and that leaves us locked in a 2v2. Hyper's got the lock himself, though, as he takes down not only J90, but Forrest also to finally secure another round for DZ as they push us to the final one of regulation to decide if this is going to Astralis or if we're going to overtime.
Pretty basic ground there for DarkZero. As for Astralis, man, why all this build up just for a blitz to do that? Like, what are we doing here, man? No one watching the cross for pillar, no real other strategy to go off of. The timing was just not there for Astralis, and they get punished for it. Now, DarkZero, they're one round away from overtime.
DarkZero bringing it back, and now Astralis. DarkZero is going to be hoping that Astralis continue to overcompensate a little bit here and play out their extensions a bit too aggressively, which is where DarkZero, as we saw just there, was finally able to bring things back on this defensive side and close out a round for themselves. Astralis, though, is not going to take that loss lightly, and they'll look for pretty much immediate revenge here. It is going to be up against the Kids Dorms, though, so there's a lot of things that members of Astralis will have to deal with. A big checklist they'll have to work their way down before they can even think about attacking the site, and DarkZero, I'm assuming, is hoping to overwhelm them with that checklist.
Well, we'll have to see here. As you said, quite a few utility pieces for Astralis to work their way through, but I think it's really going to be decided inside of this opening minute here as to what we see. Is DarkZero going to commit to having this extended roamer possibly play spoils to Astralis and go for an early pick? Are they going to try and play this from sight? Really, what is the game plan for them right now? In the moment, we're going to have Canadian fall off as well as Eclipse, who will currently be inside of security.
So Eclipse will continue to hold this position here, probably for that first minute or two, as you were mentioning. Canadian seems to be playing around with the big tower as well, though that seems to be fairly limited in its scope. Might have just been throwing down one or two of those prismas before falling back. And that certainly seems to be the case, as the rest of DZ as well continues to just kind of lean out a little bit into these smaller extensions, but is already starting to peel quite a few of them back. It seems like Eclipse and Canadian are going to be the main brunt of that extension down to the first floor, and the remaining three will be focused on the site itself. For Astralis, like I said, they've got a long list of things to clear, and it may as well very start with these first floor players, so we'll have to see how exactly Astralis is going to look to try and clear these players out, as they're already peering in for some info from the garage side, and we can see Forrest out by the White Stairs window wants to potentially start setting up a lineup to catch some of these players from DZ on the first floor as well.
DarkZero done a bang-up job of keeping Astralis out of the building. That's why we saw Canadian over towards Big Tower initially, just getting some info on what was going on over there. Is anybody repelling? Anybody punching windows or anything? And obviously the answer is no. Astralis, they finally get in the building. It's going to be J9 that gets inside of Armory, but that's really not going to be that big of a piece to the puzzle. He's actually going to have to try and propel himself forward and push up towards Trophy as Canadian takes down one. Shuttle will trade things out, and JR will get one as well. We're down to a 3 versus 3 here. J9 still has the cross here for Armory as he's being smoked out by NJR. As for the rest of Astralis, though, believe they're quite stretched out at the moment, as J9 seems to be the only person around this Armory side.
These opening duels continue to be so close as of the past few rounds. Once again, will be locked into that dead heat of a 3v3. Repeating the previous run of events, it seems, as now Forrest looks to insert himself up through the White Stairs. Once again, keeping in mind so much presence boiling out just on the other side of this from DZ. He'll have to be so cautious, and he will need teammate support to properly play this. Won't even get the chance, though, as he's going to be forced back pretty quickly, and you still have Eclipse inside of security, so the big window players cannot push in, but he'll be flashed out. He won't be able to do a thing about that. Eclipse goes down outright as he attempts to return at least a little bit of the damage, but is unsuccessful in doing so. And now Astralis take the player advantage, but they don't have necessarily, at least, the ability to attack the site just yet. But that'll be changing very, very soon as they're running out of time, and they seem to finally have the lineup needed to work their way in. With that said, though, Hyper picks up a big trade here from the inside of Walken as he takes out J90.
This is just so strange right now for Astralis. They continue to run around the map right now. They still had 2 drones with J90 going down that they could have used inside of these dying moments to find some info on these DZ members before they tried to make their next move. But they've just been rotating around the map now. Now we're into a 2v2, and this is an extremely winnable position for DarkZero, especially with Hyper where he is right now.
Just a few more seconds here. Where's the play going to come from Astralis here? They've suddenly just held themselves back. Once again, an even fight. They've got to try to go for it here. DP Fire with the intel, but he can't land the shot. Forrest will trade that, but now he needs to get the last kill, and there's just no time left. He has no idea where he's at either. Hyper, as well as his teammate there, are going to be able to shut this down from DZ and trigger overtime in the match.
Astralis mismanaging situations, and that's going to let DarkZero back in here. And not only that, but DarkZero starting off on the defensive side, arguably the favorable side when it comes to this map. But as we've seen today, it really looks to be the offense that's been able to really punish some people. So we'll have to see exactly how this overtime is going to go. Is it going to flip the script on us, or is it going to stay the same? We'll have to see. Kids Dorms will be the first site here for DZ, and Canadian, of all people, will be on the Frost, the Canadian playing the Canadian.
Astralis still with some sporadic issues to deal with on this attacking side, whether it's fending off some of these more leaned out aggressive positions from DZ or just properly managing their own time and positions to get themselves into a site execute. They still fall to pieces from time to time, as we just saw there in that last round, where they seemingly had the right to initiate from the white stairs and big window positions after taking out the player in security, but failed to do so. Not using their drones appropriately. They're not getting the intel on those two other players, and then losing one more to put it back down on even terms, where they failed to translate that 2v2 into a win. So now, once again, locked in the dead heat at 6-6. We've got 3 more rounds on the board. First team to 8 will end up taking this match.
J9 to the Mav and DP Fire to the Buck. I'm liking this lineup from Astralis here. They really want to get access to these walls, specifically the big tower side for J9, more than likely going to be adapted early. And past that, more than likely going to go for the kitchen clear. That's where Buck's really going to feel his full legs and able to do a lot on this map. He can really punish a lot of the positions upstairs from DarkZero, specifically like Canadian's position inside of dorms. A lot of this is going to be unplayable once that skeleton key gets to where it's supposed to be.
Very quiet between both teams again. DarkZero does not want to potentially overstep their boundaries here now that they've been able to push it into overtime. They don't want to have to do anything crazy inside of the first minute or two, it seems. They're going to play a very straightforward hold here. 4 bunkers inside of the site and 1 single roamer. Not even really a roamer, just a extended position inside of the kitchen on the first floor, looking to waste time like we saw in the previous round here. A very similar rerun here from what we just saw in round number 12 being played out again by DZ, and Astralis still struggling to get a handle on this inside of the early round.
Jammers around Eclipse here to make things a little bit more difficult on the clear. Astralis so far, though, have been doing a pretty bang-up job. They've only lost 2 drones, make it 3 right there as Eclipse will pick up that. Some pre-fires in towards meeting, but they're not going to tag up anybody. Speaking of which, Canadian gets dusted by DP Fire, who was just camping things out inside of Split, waiting for the rotations from DarkZero, and he's going to bag himself a Canadian.
Eclipse is looking to try and get some revenge for that, but he's got to be careful because the other 2 members of the team that are assigned to clearing him out are encroaching on his territory also. Eclipse continuing to wait down the time, has made the smart play for now by continuing to wait on the inside of security and potentially getting a little bit of a bailout from Panba if he feels adventurous enough to try and creep down those white stairs. Astralis need to build up their own kind of sense of adventure here to be able to take Eclipse out in the first place. They're once again taking a very slow path on it. DP Fire has not really moved since he got that kill about 30 seconds ago now, but that is starting to change as they'll put a bit more focus on knocking out Eclipse's position. He'll right into it this time though and has the hatch open, so he'll be able to fall back into the basement where he can continue to cause problems for Astralis as he'll more likely rotate over towards the laundry stairs.
A very big brain play from him. He's got that nitro cell still in his back pocket, so he can potentially drop off and still use that to try and play spoils to Astralis' plant. J9 will have the cross here. He'll take down Hyper inside of Master as he just looks away. He's got a couple to worry about, but as he chooses correctly, he does. He'll tag him up, be able to take down NJR. Now it's all left up to Eclipse as he'll re-enter. Won't be able to take the first Astralis body as Astralis will instead claim round 13.
Much cleaner execute that time from Astralis, taking out that downstairs player, or at least forcing them out of position, and then getting a good entry going inside of Attic to open up the floodgates for the white stairs players to work their way in as well. Beautiful stuff on that Attic push, as now Astralis take the lead one final time here to potentially push themselves over the edge and into a winning position at what would be 8-6.
I love that pacing change there from Astralis. It totally caught DarkZero off guard. That's how you have Canadian just like rolling around inside of lobby because he's like, where are these people? Like, what is going on? Nobody's
They just
really
slowed it down into like a default, basically.
Exactly.
Like,
Slowed down, defaulted out, held the angles, and waited to see if DarkZero was going to give them anything. And, well, John, as you and I both saw, they happened to give him the keys to the castle.
Came about 2 at least.
Yeah,
So.
like, a little difficult for the remainder of the DarkZero members to get anything done, especially when one of your 3 members happens to be all the way in the basement.
And that's just DarkZero, again, pushing the envelope on their own aggression just a little bit too far. That position against the wall at the very far edge of Master Bedroom, for an example, as well as Eclipse's position where he unfortunately wasn't able to do anything from it and just had to fall back and try to contribute in the late round where unfortunately all of his teammates were dead by that point.
Yeah, that's just one of those game moments where you're not thinking far enough ahead on what your opponent can possibly do. You're like, oh, they've been playing like this the whole time, so we're going to do this, and this should counter that. But, you know, they're 2 steps ahead. They've already adapted to what you were doing prior, and that's where things get really murky in any game. So that's exactly what we've got here. But now we're finally into potentially the last round here, as Astralis is looking to take this in OT.
Easy do bring a slight change up to the roster during the attacker repick, as Canadian is just going to move over to the Nomad from a Flores, as they realize they don't have as much need for the utility clear in this specific department, as they'll be going up against the basement hole instead of the second floor play. So just better to curtail that anti-roam, potentially catch anyone from lurking up the stairs. And oh no, NJR, a fatal mistake from him. He fails to catch Shuttle's shoulder as he leans out just a bit too far, and Shuttle instead takes the kill. That's Astralis once again with the opening advantage in their favor, and this nade will yield nothing as Shuttle has already rotated.
This is a terrifying round now for DarkZero after this pickup from Shuttle. Not only have they slowed down DarkZero, but they've taken away one of the best players in the entirety of the team right now.
This is with them playing like an extended play as well, all the way up to the second floor, so they can just peel that back now and just keep, it looks like they're leaving J9O inside of security, but the rest of the players, they're heading back to site. They've got no reason to play this extended game anymore. They've already got the advantage they were looking for.
You don't need to, and we might have another kill here. I was going to say, that's J9s for free. There's no way that Pambazoo should win that, and that's exactly the case in point that you were trying to make. You don't need to play that extended game anymore, John. You can just fall back, have the man watch the hats, try and get an extra kill, and that's exactly what they get. Yeah, Canadian, congratulations, you got Forest, but you guys are already so far down this hole. Well, and DP Fire is still upstairs!
Yep. There's so many facets of this that, unfortunately, DarkZero have yet to even realize.
You have no idea how screwed you are, my friend.
We're going to have to wait and see when DP Fire gets his opportunity to frag. There is a drone from Hyper roaming around security, so there's a slight chance that catches DP Fire, but we'll have to hold our breath on that and see what exactly he tries to do here. As keep in mind, we still have about half the round remaining, and he's continuing to just hold his position inside of Billiards upstairs. It looks like DZ are somewhat aware of this, as yeah, the air jabs are going to cut off the rotate from both stairwells here. DP Fire has other options aside from that, though, as you can see the hatch is present for him to drop into the kitchen and then potentially rotate over towards security as well. He can still cause some serious issues, and he certainly wants to do that as we enter the final minute of play. Here he comes. He gets the top-down cutoff. That's the case down on the ground as well. All these members of DZ are now stuck downstairs. DP Fire with the easy lineup to take on a second member. This is looking like it's it, ladies and gentlemen. Hyper is now locked in a box with no way out, but he finds the key anyway as he takes down DP Fire. Still has to go upstairs to get the case. Instead, though, he's just going to go for the frags. He's just pushing it right onto the site and trying to see if he can clutch this one out. 25 seconds, it's certainly doable, but is it realistic? That's the big question now. Waning out, just trying to get 1 or 2 little headshots off on these players, but it can't be done. J9O shuts it down, and Astralis are your victors.
Well, I guess they were right. It's Fraud Canadian up against Astralis, as they will take it. Fantastic game from Astralis, and I mean, it was grueling. We expected that coming into a DarkZero game. We were actually sitting on the couches in the green room, guys, and John looked over at me, and he goes, how do you think this game's going to go? And I was like, I think Astralis is probably going to end up winning. He's like, yeah, but you know it's going to overtime,
I was
right?
like, you know it's going to go like I thought all 3 rounds, personally. But good stuff for Astralis for closing it out into a great rebound after a little bit of a rough patch there towards the end of the first half. We remember, again, DZ had great control at 4-2, if I remember the scoreline correctly at that point, but were unable to translate it themselves into the second half. And Astralis, iconic as well, bringing in some great effort there to make sure that their team picked up the victory today instead of DarkZero.
I mean, the entire team. I think, if anything, this is the time to be high on Astralis. If you are not hyped about watching this team play, I don't know what's wrong with you. A lot of the strategies and a lot of just the different mindset that they bring to the table is just so incredible to see displayed, especially up against a team like DarkZero. Like, they are no slouches. That is a fantastic team. But Astralis just had more in the tank today.
And Astralis will continue to excel. You saw it inside of the game, currently maintaining a top 4 position. Where will they end up after that? Well, certainly higher than that. We'll have to wait and see, though, as we're going to go to a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we'll have your analysis desk segment, as well as an interview with our winners.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League. Doey here, along with Jesse and Jacob. And over in Las Vegas, we have none other than DP Fire standing by to talk a little bit about the win over DarkZero. It went pretty well. Pretty well, didn't it, for Astralis there, DP Fire?
Yeah, I mean, it was a close game in some aspects, but we're happy with how it ended.
Yeah, I mean, like Overtime and DarkZero, name a more iconic duo, it seems like, this stage. But I got a question for you real quick about clutch moments. Obviously, you had a big one in round number 9. Like, when you're in that, is your heart pounding, or is it just another day at the office? How's it feel internally there?
I mean, I think if you say that your heart isn't pounding, like you're lying. At least for me, like in the gunfight against the Warden, bro, like I was shaking a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Well, hey, getting it done, shakes or not, that's called clutch.
I mean, your aim wasn't shaking, but if it was, I want to talk about when you swapped off into the Blitz. Because at first you spawned in and I thought, all right, it's going to be the classic, we're going to go elbow, but then you weren't on that side of the map, so I was like, okay, maybe it's going to be down tower stairs, and then you moved over. I was like, okay, is it freezer stairs? And then you dropped E-Box. What's the thought process there?
So we were debating if we wanted to do that play. We were going to go through elbow, but we called it last second and I couldn't change my spawn. So that's what kind of messed it up. And then later in the round, like we were trying to decide what we wanted to do, so I was just running all over the place.
What do you do? I mean, for a team that seems like as loud and rambunctious as you guys typically are, especially when you had the comeback when it was 4-2, what do you do to make sure that you stay like focused on the moment and you're not like you're letting this hype or these emotions kind of like run away with you guys? You seem very loud. I wish we could hear it, but how do you keep your coordination, your focus?
Our team is like, like you said, we're super loud. Like we love the energy, and the thing about keeping your like head clear in those moments, like right after the round, is, you know, we have people like me or Dave. We call like the clear comms, the resets, like get everybody cooled down right after like a heated moment, and that really helps like bring the team all back together, and we just focus on the next round.
So kind of in that vein then, as a final question for you here, there were moments, of course, where things looked a little bit scary for Astralis against DarkZero there. So in those moments where you thought the hype maybe isn't necessarily coming from the round wins, all that kind of stuff, you have to bring the momentum back to your side. How do you do that?
I mean, for us, when we were getting down, you know, like 1-3, 4-2, we knew what our issues were on that defense half, and we just scrapped it. Like, we weren't even thinking about it. Like, you don't want to rest on those moments, like when you're like losing a half, basically. So when we got to the attack side, it was just a fresh slate. You know, obviously, even being loud after a round loss like helps. Like, even if you're yelling at the other team, even though you lost a round, like, you know, anything you can do and be loud, bring the energy up, it helps like the overall team.
Absolutely, got to keep that mental momentum going no matter what. Well, thanks for sitting down and chatting with us for a little bit. Congrats on the win, and good luck next week.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. DP Fire, everybody. You know, what he was saying kind of reminds me of another pro gamer that I knew in the past who said, like, you really got to have goldfish brain when you're playing these matches, right? Where it's like you got to be able to forget both like the great stuff that just happened and the bad stuff that just happened, and take it like one round, one map at a time. And like that's kind of, you know, what we hear from DP Fire as well, is you have to find a way to train the mental as much as you train the hands and train the strats, right?
Yeah, no, I think I've heard the analogy, or like the way some NFL teams have categorized it. It's a new week. We're on week 1. We're going to go 1-0 for this week, and then we'll reset every single time. I think if you can do that kind of based on every round, it also kind of has the same connotation sometimes. So it's good where you get the full reset. It doesn't mean it always like works for every team, because until it still does exist even at a high level. Like,
it can, but I feel like Astralis have like already demonstrated, especially over the last couple of matches, that they're really, really good.
That's true.
At not letting stuff get to them. They've been able to bounce back after a couple of round losses in a row, twice now against both SSG and then here, of course, today as well against DarkZero. And although it went into overtime, we had a lot of frags coming through. Hyper, I know he's a losing team, but I felt he had an amazing game today.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he definitely did have the standout moments. I mean, you look at that scoreline, it's 6-8, right? I mean, it really doesn't get any closer than that. So you know there's going to be kind of heroes on both sides in that situation.
Yeah, I think so. And like the 4-0 entry kill is like probably the biggest thing that stands out for me, just because we've talked about how much DarkZero were struggling in that area before this game. But it wasn't enough, of course, and we saw the trifecta of Astralis, DP Fire, Shuttle, J9O. Honestly, everybody, though, Force and Iconic right up there as well. Interesting how we highlighted Iconic. We literally called him Batman. And then he dropped 8 and 10. Not a bad stat line. I thought Iconic played well.
You know what, though? I mean, I felt like early on, like, you know, it looked like Rainbow Rainbow Six, but like DarkZero really playing Monster Hunter, man. They were like going after Iconic. They're trying to take down the big beast on the other side, right?
Oh, for sure. No,
he was such a big threat.
They were doing a really good job forcing those monsters into traps. That's kind of what it looked like. I mean, hey, and you say Iconic was doing the whole Batman thing, but sometimes Batman operates best from the shadows.
That's true. That's true.
We'll slip that one in there.
Well, we're going to take a look at a very special round here in a moment. I mentioned it in the interview, actually. It's round number 9 with DP Fire, and I think this was it was probably my favorite clutch moment of NAL so far. It wouldn't maybe be objectively like the most clutch moment, but man, it was exciting.
We're allowed to
this
have
is like
on this desk.
Just clicking heads. Yeah.
I mean, the F2 do what the F2 do, and sometimes all you need is DP Fire. NJ was trying to get some kills, 3K on the round for him. Eclipse has got diffuser control, and he's gonna down J9O. So it's a 1v3, immediately traded out, and then he reloads, takes his time. I think that first kill was nice, but these last two, he doesn't even need the F2 for all of them, Jacob. This is like peekaboo ring around the rosy first.
Yeah.
This one's like a little awkward. I believe this is with the NJR on the other side of that pillar. Yeah.
Yep. So
this one got wild.
In this moment, it's more the decision making because he knows he has to take the fight with the Warden. Canadian's not going to make the push. He gets it with the pistol. I thought at this moment he would recover J9. I figure he knows there's someone down long. He's got the ability to at least get in there, but instead he takes the fight.
Wow.
The pre-fire is perfect. Canadians got it down, but DP Fire in the moment is simply better.
That's delicious. That's kind of play.
Chef's kiss.
Yeah. That is a tiny, tiny head all the way across the map, and he clicked it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Yeah. So,
welcome to any FPS game ever, but yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's one of the reasons why we like these games, right? We like the aiming. We like to see that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think, though, like you said, you thought you'd go pick up the teammate inside of Freezer. That's like almost a trap card, right? Because if you go for your Freezer teammate there and you're not watching the cross, you're shot in the side of the head, you're trying to sprint past the angle. That doesn't work. He had to take that gunfight, and to have that heads-up ability to figure that out, to take the gunfight, even though it was such long range, was a huge move.
Good stuff, DP.
Yeah, that's right. Well, incredible match between DarkZero and Astralis. Astralis getting the better of DarkZero today, though, with an 8-6 overtime victory. It was a ton of fun, but we are not done yet. Don't worry. We got 2 more maps coming up, and they're going to be good ones. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be Sonics versus Beast Coast coming up next. So Sonics, again, still searching for a win. Beast Coast is going to bring the insanity. It's going to be a fun map to watch. Don't go anywhere. The R6 NAL returns right after this.